Chosen a reading by E. Cummings. We do not believe in ourselves until someone reveals that something deep inside us is valuable, worth listening to, worthy of our trust, sacred to our touch. Once we believe in ourselves, we can risk curiosity, wonder, spontaneous delight, or any experience that reveals the human spirit. This is important because we can't accurately understand or know ourselves. To see ourselves, we need the mirror of other human beings, especially others who deeply and generously see us. Others who understand our capacity to heal, repair, and grow, as well as our skills. And other people who understand that healing and repair happens in this world where good and bad things happen to all of us. Friedrich Buchner says, "This is the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Do not be afraid." Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Do not be afraid. And to really believe this, we need to see in somebody else's eyes that they have navigated and found a path through their own dark night. That they got through intact and that the love in their hearts did not die. There's a Jewish creation story that I love called Tikkun Olam. Tikkun means repair or mending, and Olam means the world. And I told this story last time I was here, so please indulge me to tell it again, this creation story. It's been 13 months since I was last here, so maybe you don't remember. All right, I'm going to use the words of Mirabai Starr. If you don't know who she is, she's amazing. She's a Jewish interfaith teacher, quite an amazing woman. And these words come from her audiobook, Taking Refuge in the Wild Heart. These are her words. There is a legend in mystical Judaism, and there are similar versions in other religions and indigenous wisdom traditions, in which the Holy One, who is formless, undifferentiated, absolute, the Holy One longs to know itself, and so creates this world that we know. The Holy One longed to know itself, so it poured its light into a series of vessels. But the intensity of that light was so great that the vessels shattered. And shards of light and shards of darkness were sent in all directions. And this is what created all that is. From the original emptiness that is boundless, all forms came into being, she says. I call this the Jewish Big Bang. And then human beings were created with the task of gathering the shards of light and lifting them up and restoring the vessels to wholeness. Our task as human beings is to mend the broken world, to lift up those shards of light and rebuild those vessels and restore wholeness to the cosmos. How do we do this? We do this with every act of loving kindness. This is Genesis now. In the beginning, when God created heaven and earth, the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. And then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. I'm going to fast forward and save us some time to the sixth day. God saw everything that God had made, and indeed, it was very good. And there was evening, and there was morning on the sixth day. This world was made good. And I've heard some Jewish teachers say that the Hebrew word that is usually translated as good can also be understood as beautiful. This world was made beautiful and good. Let's jump forward. Einstein said the most important question we can ask ourselves is this universe friendly or not? The most important question we can ask ourselves is this universe friendly or not? Because everything else follows from there. So let's ask ourselves, do I see and hold in my heart that which is eternal, beautiful, and good? There's a trap we can fall into spiritually, focusing on what we don't believe. You know that one probably. And all that is wrong, instead of also making space to really see what we do believe and giving our heart to that. I use poetry, and especially the Psalms, to help me see the astonishing goodness and beauty that's the foundation on which this world is built. Let me give you an example. This is a modern interpretation of Psalm 8. The words are created by a UU minister actually called Christine Robinson. And the melody is Gregorian chant, tweaked by Simon. Remember, this is about how we see. How do we see the universe as friendly or not? Many named one beyond imagining when I contemplate the night sky. The cosmos, which all unfolded from a speck, galaxies, stars, this beautiful earth. And who are we humans that you attend to us? Mere mortals in our tiny corner, and you love us. We are life come to knowing and feeling. The whole world is in our hands. Plants and animals, oceans and ice caps, rainforest and ecosystem. Touch our hearts, O God, make us worthy of this trust. Help us care for life on this beautiful earth. Amen. The line that I love to savor on my lips, I love that earlier Tom said about singing is like a hug. It really is. And there is this process of placing beautiful poetry on your lips that feels gorgeous. And the words for this that always make my heart so full are, we are life come to knowing and feeling. We are this earth come to knowing and feeling. Okay, into this good and beautiful creation place Adam and Eve. Adam meaning clay or earth, and Eve meaning living or breathing. Breathing clay, living earth. That's us. And the Jewish legend is that Eve and Adam left the Garden of Paradise, the place where they lived out their entire being within unconditional love and the unitive consciousness. They left because they ate the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. I'm not so into the story of Eve being the bad guy and then becoming wrecked with guilt and then being banished by a judgy testing Yahweh. I'm not so interested in that. But what I do find interesting is the shift from being utterly at peace, naked, and without worry, to a state of anxiety, shame, and the fear of what others might think of them, and the need to wear clothes and hide. I've got a whole sermon on God the seamstress, if you're interested in this. All right, just planning that for another time. I understand the Garden of Eden story as something in our human evolution shifted, and perhaps It was the introduction of language. Something shifted and we split off from unitive thinking into a splintered, differentiated, polarized way of seeing the world. And I think it's this dualistic, categorizing way of thinking that makes us humans so prone to feeling lonely and separate. Other living creatures don't experience the world like this. Here's an example. This is from Thomas Merton. He's one of my favorites. He was a Catholic monk who lived about 75 years ago. He wrote these words. The pale flowers of the dogwood outside my window are saints. The bass and the trout, hiding in the deep pools of the rivers, are canonized by their beauty and their strength. The lakes hidden among the hills are saints. And the sea, too, is a saint who praises God without interruption in her majestic dance. For me, to be a saint means to be myself. Therefore, the problem of sanctity and salvation is in the fact, the problem of finding out who I am and discovering my true self. Trees and animals have no problem. God makes them what they are without consulting them, and they are perfectly satisfied. We can be ourselves or not as we please. We are at liberty to be real or to be unreal. We may be true or false. The choice is ours. And for me, a saint, regardless of whether they've got a Vatican driving license or not, is someone who, after they die, still offers healing, guidance, and love. Merton helpfully points out that authenticity and self-acceptance is the hidden inward part of what we know about the saints, that outpouring of love and healing and care for others. The inward hidden part is a deep acceptance and knowing of the self. Let's jump back to Lao Tzu. So this is 6th century BC, translated by Brian Brown Walker. Quietly go to your work of your own self-awareness. If you want to awaken all of humanity, then awaken all of yourself. If you want to eliminate the suffering in the world, then eliminate all that is dark and negative in yourself. Truly, the greatest gift you can give is that of your own self-transformation. I need for us to go back to our friends Adam and Eve for a little bit longer. This time through the teachings of Father Keating. He only died 5 years ago. Do you know him? He's another Catholic monk. So in the 1960s, he lived in a monastery in Massachusetts, and all these young people came by and knocked on the door and was like, "Where are the Buddhists?" And they went, they're further up the hill. And there was all these young people going to see the Buddhists and not coming to see the monks. And the monks started talking about this and going, why are they going to the Buddhists? What is it the Buddhists are offering? And it was meditation. And so Father Keating, probably, I don't know if he was a father at this time, but Monk Keating came up with centering prayer, which is this Christian way of prayer of quietude, resting in the cloud of unknowing. I decided to learn about this. I thought, I want to learn about this form of prayer of quietude. So I got an audiobook on centering prayer, and Father Keating talked for hours and hours and hours. He never shut up, actually, on what he called the human condition. I was really surprised. I thought we'd get some like gongs and quiet music, and no. He talked and talked about the human condition, which was his take on original sin, that Adam and Eve story again. I don't believe in original sin. I'll tell you about that later. But he did. And his understanding, his reframing of it was quite helpful for us. So he talked about the human condition. And he talked about how when we sit quietly on the meditation stool, a voice inside us starts talking about all our grievances, our inner chatter. We have to deal with our incapacity for love and the ways that we've been hurt, because it will get in the way of us resting in the prayer of quiet, especially when you're on home and you're not in a beautiful sanctuary with other people? How do we switch off that inner dialogue, that inner torrent of stuff? Well, Keating said that we need to look at our blueprint of love. That's our sermon title today. What did he mean by the blueprint for love? Well, he said that we come from love, and love is interwoven into us like a compass. But when we are born as a baby, it needs to be activated and role modeled by other people, otherwise it'll get stunted. So if you grew up in a family where love is quite conditional and punishment are disguised as love, you will wrongly assume that that is true to the nature of love, and that this is a fault that one generation passes on to the next. I don't really believe in original sin, as I said, or any action of Adam and Eve causing an angry, punitive God to put up no trespassing signs and kick us out of Eden. But there's something here that is helpful, very helpful to me. There's something about our shame and desire to hide ourselves in our own splintering and disintegration that makes it very difficult to let both quiet and love in. Father Keating says that we can only love others to the extent that we ourselves have received unconditional love. This is similar to the African Zulu word, Ubuntu. Have you come across Ubuntu? It's a wonderful concept. I think it means a human being is a human being through other people. The late Bishop Tutu said, "In my culture, there's no such thing as a solitary individual. I need you," he says. "I need you to be you so that I can be me." His daughter, Mpo Tutu, she's amazing, check her out. Mpo says, "Ubuntu is an ethic that understands that everything that I do has an effect on you. Everything that I do has an effect on you. We are essentially interconnected, and we act," she says, "in our African way from that way of seeing." Leonardo da Vinci said, "Learn how to see, and you'll realize that everything connects to everything else." Well, here we are circling back to the way that we see the world and whether the universe is friendly or not. Now, when I first started thinking about Ubuntu, I thought about all the thousands and thousands of hours of love that I had received in my life. I am the product of decades and decades of love and compassion and nurturing, and 3 of those people that have given me abundant love are sitting right there, especially when I needed it. But there's something not just about their care and effort, there's something in the relationship based on their capacity to love and my capacity to receive love that can be strengthened or diminished. Do you want to know a shortcut into spiritual growth? Hang out with holy people. It wears off. It's contagious. There's something in the relationship. Holy people demonstrate a high capacity to keep their hearts open and focused on what really matters. And in the process, the muscle of the heart is grown, and they are able to outpour love for the rest of us. Sufis, like your lovely temporary minister, have this phrase about polishing the mirror of the heart so that you can reflect the divine light. There's something in us that delights in truth and new life. And when we see other people suffering, we want to relieve their suffering. There really is a pre-programmed in us something to do with loving each other. Now, we can learn, and sometimes do learn, to shut off our compassion and close our hearts. But that is a learned faulty behavior and not our deep down response. I believe that Father Keating was quite right when he said, we are blueprinted for love. And our capacity to love as humans in unbearable circumstance sometimes is normal to us, but it is astonishing and remarkable. It really is. I'm going to end with a poem that speaks of this, that was inspired by St. Francis of Assisi, written by Robert Holden. He lives up in Scotland, and he says this: "Good news. I got my invite, and I trust that you did too. The world is throwing a party again tonight. Planets and stars will hang like bunting from the ceiling. Bees will bring honey. Cows and goats will bring milk. Flowers will bring perfume. And each worm will bring a doily made of silk. Vegetables and minerals will sit on every table, and grapes will make wine. Whales will recite sonnets from the deep, and dolphins will leap and play and have a great time. The wind and trees will make music. Birds like the lark and dove will sing. All God's creatures will bring a little something, and humans, we will bring love." I invite you to stand and sing with me. We're going to sing about this: love, serve, and remember. These are actually the words of Yogananda. And Donia kindly wrote to John Aston and asked if we can sing a song. I'll sing it through a few times. Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why don't you just try that part? Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Then it goes. Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? Try that. Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? To love, serve, and remember. To love, serve, and remember. Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? To love, serve, and remember. To love, serve, and remember. Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? To love, serve, and remember. To love, serve, and remember. One more time. Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come? To love, serve, and remember. To love, serve, and remember. To love. Thank you for listening.